Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama R Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class, which is from Canto 2, Chapter 3, and today we're doing the last text of that chapter, which is text 25. We are very fortunate to have today His Grace Balabhadra Prabhu from ISKCON, Atlanta, to give the class, and I think he'll be in. Oh, he's there. Absolutely. Hare Krishna. Please accept
Haribo,
my humble
Guru. All
obeisances.
glories to the
Oh,
Prabhupada.
God, Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. It's all
Haribo.
yours.
I'm in Philadelphia, so my situation is a little different. But anyway, we'll see what we can
Oh,
do.
okay. Okay. We're fortunate to have you this morning, though. Hare Krishna.
Haribo, thank you. Do you sing Jai Radha Madhav? A little short or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're seeing that. Absolutely.
Okay. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Ram Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Paribraj Jagacharya Stottara Siddha Shri Shri Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Vishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Paribraj Jagacharya Stottara Siddha Shri Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौ भक्त वृंद की जाय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंज राधा कुंगिरी गोवर्धन की जाय वृंदावन धाम की जाय नवदीप धाम की जाय मायापुर धाम की जाय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जाय जगन्नाथ बालादेव सुभद्र महारानी की जाय श्री श्री गौनीताय की जाय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण की जाय Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki, Jamuna Mai Ganga Mai ki, Samveda Bhaktivinoda ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Sankirtan Jagya ki Jai. Pranjaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Atabide Hanga Mano Nukulam Prabhashase Bhagavata Pradhana Yat Ahavai Yasakir Atmavidya Visharado Nirpatim Sadhu Prishta Atabide Yangamano Nukulam Prabhasase Bhagavata Pradhana Yarahava Yasikir Atmavidya Visharado nirpatim sadhu prishta atabide yangamano nukulam prabhashase bhagavata pradana yar ahava yasakir atma vidya visharado nirpatim sadhu prishta. Next.
Tabidehyanga mano nukulam prabhasha se bhagavata pradana yadaha ve yasakir atmavidya visharado nripatin sadhu prishta. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Atha videyango manonukulam prabhashashe bhagavata pradhana yadaha vaishya sakir atmavidya visharado nirpatim sadhu prishtha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Word for word. Ata, therefore. Abhidehi, please explain. Anga, O Sutta Goswami. Manaha, mind. Anukulam, favorable to our mentality. Prabhashase, you do speak. Bhagavata, the great devotee. Pradhana, the chief. Yat aha, what he spoke. Vyasaki, Sukadev Goswami. Atmavidya, transcendental knowledge. Visharada, expert. Nirpatim, unto the king. Sadhu, very good. Prishtha, being asked. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. O Sutta Goswami, your words are pleasing to our minds. Please therefore explain this to us as it was spoken by the great devotee Sukadev Goswami, who is very expert in transcendental knowledge and who spoke to Maharaj Parikshit upon being asked. Report. Knowledge explained by the previous Acharya, like Sukadev Goswami, and followed by the next, like Sutta Goswami, is always powerful transcendental knowledge, and it is therefore penetrating and useful to all submissive students. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, third chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. Om Gyanati Mirandasa Jananjanan Salakaya Chaksu Militam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayan Rupagadama Yatadati Swapadantika. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gopaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is a very powerful and short purport by Srila Prabhupada. And he's giving us some things that we can think about in a broader, expanded perspective. So I looked in the database, well, actually, prabhupadvani.org, to find a lecture from Srila Prabhupada on this very same verse, which was given in Los Angeles, June 23rd, 1972. So we will work from that purport to get some insights. But just from the verse itself, there's some key phrases or words that caught my attention. For instance, well, in the beginning, knowledge explained by previous acharyas, or the previous acharya, like Sukadev Goswami, and followed by the next, like Sutta Goswami, which is very important to preserve this chain of disciplic succession, the parampara, which Krishna established, beginning all the way from Lord Brahma, Narada Muni, Vyasadeva, all the way up to Srila Prabhupada. So it would seem to be an expectation placed on us to preserve that line, because Krishna's saying when that line was broken, he had to come, or he will come, to reestablish it. And he reestablished that line with Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. Excuse me 1 second, my screen just went short. Yeah. So he reestablished that line. So is it possible that by our not taking very seriously the responsibility that's been placed on us by the Acharyas, by Srila Prabhupada, to preserve the integrity of the righteous, correct way in which to execute Krishna consciousness, even in this modern age. Because sometimes we think, well, things are different now, we have to adjust. Of course, some adjustment has to be made in all aspects of life. But the basic principles of Krishna consciousness that have produced so many great personalities, as mentioned here, Sutta Goswami, Sukadev Goswami, and then later on, our dear Srila Prabhupada, of course, Bhaktisiddhanta, and all these great souls have been inspired and have in their own efforts preserved this important information. For what purpose? For the purpose of liberating all conditioned souls. There's nothing that I can do, or I'm sure most of you would agree, there's nothing we can do to liberate conditioned souls other than connect them with the Guru Parampara system. Connect them all the way back to Krishna. But that's a big order. Because what Krishna spoke to Brahma spoke to Narada, and Narada spoke to Vyasa, and subsequently all the way down, it's the same information. And the Srimad Bhagavatam itself is described as the ripened fruit of all this knowledge. So Srila Prabhupada labored to present Srimad Bhagavatam, as he said, even though it's not his primary language. And he admitted, he said, there might be so many quote unquote inconsistencies and things of that nature due to this is not his language. But he said that I'm confident that honest men will accept this as a genuine attempt to glorify the Almighty God. He had that confidence. Why? Because he did not change anything. He preserved it. He focused on it. He spent the time to scrutinizingly understand the words of the previous acharyas. He didn't step over them. He didn't try to interpret them. Sometimes we might be guilty of trying to interpret, especially if we go outside the realm of Srila Prabhupada's teachings and look at other acharyas beyond what Prabhupada revealed to us, and then try to interpret what the previous acharyas have said. It's almost like skipping over Prabhupada to go to the previous acharyas and try to get something from them and then bring it back within the confines of ISKCON. ISKCON has so many wonderful attributes, but we have some great responsibility to preserve what Prabhupada gave us. That's not to diminish creativity, diversity. These are all words that devotees are very fond of using. But we have to be very careful. We can't go beyond what Prabhupada has designated for us to do as members of this institution. So I love what this first part of the verse is saying. Knowledge explained by the previous Acharya, like Sukadeva Goswami, and followed by the next, like Sutta Goswami. Then he says, it's always powerful transcendental knowledge, which indicates there could be transcendental knowledge that's not as powerful, or knowledge from Vedanta or Vedic literatures that may not bring the desired result, as in the case of Srila Vyasadeva himself, after completing all of his work in the Vedic literatures, was not satisfied. It's very important to remember that he himself was not satisfied. And Narada Muni questioned him, why are you not happy? He said, you have failed to directly point to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Lord. Therefore, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, ripened fruit of the Vedic literature. And then the other part of the purport, the last part, and it is therefore penetrating. This word penetrating is used more or less to indicate something that really goes to the heart of the issue, just penetrating, going deep. It's like you take a doctor takes a scalpel, as Prabhupada says, the expert doctor takes the scalpel and he can penetrate your body and pull out some contamination, some tumor, some cancer, something penetrating, going through, and is therefore penetrating. Penetrating what? Through our Maya, our attachments. It actually cuts through. Bhagavatam also says, with sword in hand, one can cut through the labyrinthine knot of reactionary work. So it takes a sharp instrument. So penetrating. This knowledge is therefore penetrating. It cuts through our Maya. Om Agyanatimirandasya, Janan Janan Salakaya, Chakshu Umilitam Nena, Tasmashuguru. So the Guru penetrates the darkness of our ignorance that we have cultivated our whole life and life after life, many lifetimes. We've cultivated the sense gratificatory mood mindset. But the spiritual master penetrates through that ignorance. And the last part, it is penetrating and useful. This is amazing, this last part is the purport. Therefore, penetrating, useful to all submissive students. It's penetrating and useful, but then the qualification is being a submissive student. I'm trying to remember the verse in the Bhagavatam that, I believe it's either Sutta Goswami or Sukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami, that you have been blessed by all these great personalities because you're submissive. Srila Prabhupada demonstrated submissiveness when he was listening to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and Prabhupada said that others would get up and leave, and Prabhupada said, I would stay and listen, even though I couldn't understand Guru Maharaj. He was speaking on a very high platform, but I would listen. So he said, my spiritual master saw something in me. Therefore, Prabhupada received this big order to spread Krishna consciousness in the West because of being submissive. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upatek shantite jnanam jnanina stata darshana. Try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master, inquire submissively from him, and render service. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he's seen the truth. So this being submissive is very, very important. I believe the word is pranipa. I have to look, make sure. But anyway, being very submissive, that's practical in all spheres of life. If you want to be successful in life and you go into a field that you're not familiar with, then if you're intelligent, you would be submissive to those who know more, those who are experienced. And generally people, when they start a new career, if they're smart, they connect with someone who's expert in that field, very expert in that field. I heard a story once, this man said, if I lost all my money, every penny from having millions, everything's gone. He said, I would work any job, make some money, buy a beautiful suit, take the most experienced person in the field that I want to succeed in and take them out to dinner and woo them and just pick their brain for everything they know in a submissive spirit. And Prabhupada also described that. He said, businessmen, they come together, they have some dinner, and they discuss business. So the same way as devotees, we come together, take prasadam, chant Hare Krishna, and try to understand Krishna consciousness. It's futile. It's a waste of time to come together to discuss materialistic concepts, especially now during the political season. There's so many devotees back and forth, their political views, who they're going to vote for. I'm thinking, this is insane. I don't care who you vote for who you want. I don't care if you don't vote. But why waste the valuable time in human life for those things that we cannot even change? And even if, the political scene goes this way, what's it going to do for the fact that I may die at any moment? Nothing. What's it going to do for my Krishna consciousness? Therefore, the devotee's main focus is Krishna consciousness. So I want to go into, one thing before we go into Prabhupada's lecture, the indication in this verse points me to Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, text 9, which is Madchita Madgata Prana Bodhiyanta Parasparam Katayantas Chamam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. Translation, the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. They derive great satisfaction and bliss. Last week, we were talking about the difference between enjoying and relishing. And I believe Preacher gave a nice summation in one simple statement that this enjoying borders on the enjoying spirit of sense gratification. Whereas relishing has a transcendental connotation, even if you look it up in the dictionary, it indicates something higher. So here, they derive great satisfaction and bliss, but how do they derive it? They don't derive it by mundane endeavors. They derive it by always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Very specific. They derive great satisfaction by always enlightening one another and conversing about me. And in the purport, the first part, Prabhupada says, pure devotees whose characteristics are mentioned here engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. So we have to, as you say, take stock of our mindset, our mental situation. How do we interact with each other as devotees? When in fact, Srila Prabhupada is describing the mood and the mentality of the pure devotee. Why have we come to Krishna consciousness? We didn't know anything about pure devotees and bhakti yoga and pure devotional service, and Prabhupada revealed it to us. So gradually we began to develop an interest in the concept of a pure devotee. Several times during my brahmachari days, I did these little notebooks, and I wanted to extract every statement from Prabhupada about the qualities of a pure devotee. Fortunately, now we have Vedabase and we have the internet, so you can just type in and you'll find hundreds, if not thousands of references to what it means to be a pure devotee. Specifically in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, text 13 to 20, because there it says at the end of each verse, such and such person is dear to me. What kind of person? He who is a kind friend to all living entities. He from whom no one is put into difficulty. On and on and on, describing what it means to be a pure devotee. So then what are we striving for in this movement? The danger is we become distracted by power. Very simple. Money, power, position, control. And you have to listen very carefully sometimes when devotees are speaking. I remember once I was at a meeting, it was in Atlanta, and one devotee used the phrase, my group. And I thought, I need to talk to this person. But that's not the right concept. We don't own a group of devotees, not my group. Suppose you have a Bhakti Vriksha program. That's not your group. Those are Krishna's servants that you've been entrusted to bring closer and closer to Krishna. So the I, me, and mine is decried by Prahlad Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a very dangerous mindset. But if we don't watch it, it's similar to the concept of the Bhakti Lata as a seed. And the seed is growing. And the person has, as the gardener, has to be careful to take out the weeds. But you have to know what is a weed and what is an actual plant. So we're learning as science how to identify the weeds that can destroy our devotional creeper or at least retard its growth. We don't want anything to retard the growth of the Bhakti Lata Beach. We want that seed to grow. And then Prabhupada explains that the Bhakti Lata Bija are the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga. That is the actual Bhakti. So the Guru gives you the seed. It's not some physical, like a seed, but it's the rules and regulations of devotional service. That is actually the Bhakti Lata. So we have to preserve the integrity, the importance of that. as we read through this lecture from Prabhupada, he keeps saying about being serious. Several times he refers to being serious in practicing devotional service. If we do want to become pure devotees without ego, okay, anya vilasita sunya jnana karma narvitam anukulyena krishnanu silanam bhaktutam. No karma, no jnana, no yoga, none of that. No seeking prestige, none of that. First principle of knowledge is humility, lots of that. So we at all want to become or rise to the level of a pure devotee, again, without the ego, everyone's saying, you're so pure, you're so great, but rise to that level. Why? So that when I serve Krishna, it will be with a pure heart. I want to achieve that level where I have a pure heart that I can serve Krishna nicely. So again, Prabhupada is helping us in so many ways. And so I want to go into this lecture a little bit. It's not a long lecture, so I extracted some different parts of it. So I won't just take up all the time just reading. But I find it's very refreshing, especially during these classes and get-togethers, that we can hear from Prabhupada a little bit more. So this, again, is from Los Angeles, June 23rd, 1972. And Pradyumna Prabhu did the translation of the verse. And then Prabhupada says, So Parikshit Maharaj was asking, and Sukadev Goswami was replying. Both of them were fit to ask and to reply. So that's important. We have to think about that for a second. They were both qualified, fit to ask questions, and then for the other person to reply. Bhagavata Pradhana, Maharaj Parikshit was disciple, and Shukadev Goswami was the spiritual master. If both of them become fit, are fit, then the discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam is very pleasing. Conversely, my comment on that, conversely, if the two parties are not fit, then the discussion will not be very pleasing. How do we become fit? Prabhupada gave us the system, 16 rounds, four regulative principles. Rise early in the morning, perform various services. Prabhupada said from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m., devotees are busily engaging. Of course, that's not possible for everybody, because most of you work outside and you have responsibilities with children and so many things. But there's a mindset. We may not be able to do it physically, but there should be a mindset in your mind, in your heart, because Krishna says, Man manad bhava mad bhakta. Engage your mind. The mind, it goes with you wherever you go, to work, to school, on vacation. The mind is there. But he's saying, engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee, surrender, engage in my service. Then he says, Satatam kirtayantu mam, always chant my glories. So he gave that instruction to Arjuna in the context of the Battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna expected that Arjuna could adopt this order in the midst of a very, very stressful situation, a battlefield. Wow. And as I say, I'm saying it jokingly, but I mean it. We don't have any responsibility that we can point to, which is as stressful as what Arjuna was faced with. None of us can say, because we have a job, because we have children, all these things we sometimes use as excuses. Well, think about Arjuna. Krishna's asking him to do something that we sometimes hesitate to do or we forget to do because we're busy. None of us were as busy as Arjuna was. No way. So we should reflect on that. I have such a simple life. Let me enhance my Krishna consciousness by thinking of Krishna in the midst of difficulty. And that's another point or verse that's mentioned in those verses 13 to 20 from Bhagavad Gita chapter 12. One who is not disturbed by the ordinary course of activities is dear to me. So think about that. Ordinary, normal course of activities, work, family, vacation, all these different things, health development or maintenance. One who's not disturbed by that is dear to Krishna. So the question becomes again, are we in this movement to become dear to Krishna? Or are we in this movement for some other reason? Because Four kinds of people come to Krishnas. They're not all coming for devotional reasons. They come for economic development, or they come seeking a wife or a husband. So many things will come, or position and power. But if we're smart, if we pay attention to how Srila Prabhupada presents Krishna consciousness, we know the goal is to become Krishna conscious. It's simple. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to become Krishna conscious. What does that mean? Conscious of Krishna. Now I'm conscious of my body. I'm conscious of my endeavors. I'm conscious of my position. I'm conscious of my beauty or lack thereof. That same consciousness can be applied to Krishna. All day long, we should be thinking of Krishna. I remember on Sankirtan when we were doing the Atlanta airport with Vaishesika Prabhu and Swabhas Prabhu and Triparari Maharaj and Charu Deshna Prabhu. We had a habit. Almost in the middle of the day when our minds start to drift, we would stop in the middle. I'm standing in the middle of the Atlanta airport. We open up the Bhagavatam and just start reading to each other. It must have been a fascinating sight for people to see that. These guys are standing there reading. It was amazing, and it just refreshed our minds. Bhagavatam also says that in first canto, second chapter, verse 18, 19 or 20, rejuvenated is the word that's used, rejuvenated. So when we go to the Bhagavatam, we become refreshed, rejuvenated, as long as we don't speculate on the Bhagavatam or the philosophy. We become inspired. So yes, Prabhupada is telling us like that. If both of them are fit, then this discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam is very pleasing. When we're in distress, we want to be peaceful. We want to be pleased inside. So we have to be fit. Prabhupada's already fit. And I wanted to make this point very clearly. Prabhupada is already fit. Prabhupada is already perfect. You can't find a better person to go to become pleased. But yourself, you have to be fit. Because he says both of them are fit. The guru and the disciple. Prabhupada is the Siksha guru, as devotees sometimes say, for all of ISKCON. He's my spiritual master, the spiritual master of many, many of his disciples, many of which are still on the planet. But he's always the guru for all of us through his writings. He said, Vani Vapu, of the two, Vani is more important, his instructions. They will live on forever. So he's already fit. Now we have to become fit. How do we become fit? How do you become fit in the material world? Exercise, Tai Chi, yoga, whatever, stand on your head, whatever. Good diet, vegan diet, keto diet, all those things to become fit. So how do you become fit in Krishna consciousness? Well, as Prabhupada says in the first verse, first purport of the Bhagavad Gita, scrutinizingly studying Bhagavad Gita, scrutinizingly, and applying Bhagavad Gita to every aspect of your life, as mentioned in the 18th chapter in the description about the Brahmana, Samo Dhammastapal Saucham, Shantir Arjavam Evacha, Jnana Vijnana. Gather the knowledge, but Vijnana, apply the knowledge. When you are in distress, let me test Krishna consciousness. Because it says, if I take shelter of Krishna, then all these things, these things will be minimized, they may go away. Let me take shelter of Krishna instead of my mind when I'm in distress. And then Krishna tells us, or tells you when you're in that situation, that one who is not disturbed by the ordinary course of activities is dear to me. So let me become dear to Krishna when I'm struggling. Why? Because Krishna put that struggle for me so I could surrender to him. I was explaining last night in Philadelphia at the Sunday program, and I told the devotees, I said, you're not going to like what I'm going to say, okay? What Prabhupada actually said. I prefaced it in a joking way. And I'll tell you all the same thing. You're not going to like it when you hear this. Prabhupada said, this is a direct quote. Suffering is a symptom of God's love. So I wanted to give like a visualization of that. So I pointed to one, Mataji. I said, if you have to discipline your child, spank your child, and I'm not telling people to go, beat their kids, but why do you do that? Is it love or is it hate? And she said, no, it's love. It's love. Even though I'm inflicting a little bit of pain, it's love. So whatever suffering we're going through, it's love. We can't see that. Why? Because we forget. Why do we forget? Because we don't scrutinizingly study. We don't, I'm not penalizing or criticizing anyone, but sometimes we forget to use these moments that we have to think of Krishna. So then Krishna, Dadami Buddhi Yoga, when you're going through some difficulty, he will give the understanding by which you can come to him. Get out of this darkness, come to the light. Jyotigrama, what is that verse? Jyotigrama. Anyway, come from the darkness. Tamasi Jyotigrama, come from the darkness to the light. So Krishna brings us from that darkness to the light if we remember him, if we develop the urge to hear his messages. Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, verse 17, I believe. Srimbata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridyantasto Yabhadrani Vidunoti Sarisitam. When the Lord sees that you have developed the urge, and the verse before that said the urge comes from serving those devotees who are pure in heart or free of all vice. So there's a system. Serve the devotees. We have Prabhupada, we have all these wonderful devotees. Pure in heart is a qualification. That's very important. And then by that, one gains the affinity to hear these messages of the Lord. And when the Lord sees that you have developed the urge to hear, then Ridyantastu Yabhadrani, he cleanses the heart. We can't do it. I make that statement based on my own life. I'm not able to do it. Only by the grace of the Lord that I've been able to stay involved in this movement for some years, by his grace only. Actually, Satsvarupa Maharaj one time said that Srila Prabhupada single-handedly maintained the faith of all the devotees in this movement. I believe that with all my heart. We had what ability did the devotees in the 60s and 70s have, coming from gross material lifestyles, heavy material lifestyles, to have faith in Krishna consciousness, to stay with Prabhupada, to stay in this movement, even going up and down, having struggles, sticking with what Prabhupada said. So we have to be fit. Prabhupada is already fit. Now we have to become fit and remain fit. It's like when you do exercise. If you exercise, but then you stop, then your muscles go down and you get sick again. Stay fit regularly every single day. Read Prabhupada's books every single day. Maybe you're studying some other books here and there. You enjoy reading the Prabhupada's books every day. I can't order you to do it. I can only tell you that I do it. Hopefully that'll encourage others to do the same. And I'm sure most of you do that. So then he says, the student and the master. If the master is learned and the student is foolish, then it will be not very much pleasing. Or the master is foolish and the student is also foolish. That will also not be. Both of them should be fit. A few more things here in Prabhupada's lecture. Then we'll open up for discussion. He quotes this verse from the Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 25th chapter, 25th verse. Satam prasanga mama virya sambido bhavandi ritkarna rasayana kata taj joshanad aspa pabarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anush kramishati. That was in context of what he says here. He says, Satam prasanga mama virya sambidho ritkarna rasana kata. Virya means potency. Just like if a potent husband and a potent wife have sex intercourse, immediately there will be pregnancy. Therefore, this word is used, potent. Formerly, this was being used. Both the husband and wife remain potent, not impotent, and sterilized. They remain potent voluntarily. But when they wanted to beget a child, that one sex intercourse is sufficient. There is child. So then he quoted that verse. So that verse says, in the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and to the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation. And thereafter, he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. I implore you, all of us wonderful devotees on this call, these verses like this are meant to be very scrutinizingly studied, remembered, applied. It's like there's a system here in just that one verse. association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and the activities, pleasing and satisfying, ear and heart, cultivating the knowledge, gradually advance, liberation, becoming free, attraction becoming fixed, real devotion and devotional service beginning. Amazing. In the purport, it says from that verse, the process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional service is described here. The first point is that one must seek the association of persons who are Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. Without such association, one cannot make advancement. So I made a little footnote from my thought on that this morning. Again, this is my view. And I say all the time that you have a right to your opinion, but it doesn't mean your opinion is always right. So I'm going to give you my understanding of this. This is describing the purpose and goal of ISKCON, again, in my estimation, to provide an environment where devotees can make real spiritual progress, and in turn provide the proper association for those who come in contact with such serious and well-trained devotees, who are strictly following the example and teachings of Srila Prabhupada, and who are carefully avoiding the insidious trap of personally motivated interpretations. It's just, that thought came to my mind as I was studying for this class today, that we have to be so careful not to introduce things to the movement that Prabhupada did not want, or Srila Prabhupada did not indicate that could be brought in the future. He had many indications like that. But sometimes we become a little too enthusiastic to introduce new things in the course of our preaching. So we have to be very careful with that. So then Prabhupada goes on. I'll finish with this real quickly. Simply by theoretical knowledge or study, one cannot make any appreciable advancement. One must give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of devotees, because without the association of devotees, one cannot understand the activities of the Lord. Therefore, it is said, Satam prasangam mamavirya sambido bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata. Again, that's Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 25th chapter, 25th verse. If the Bhagavata discussion is done between the two potents, the disciple and the master, then immediately, sadhya riddhi avarujyate, as it is said in the beginning. He's talking about the Bhagavatam. So then he says, have you got Bhagavad, the first beginning? So that verse he's referring to, Nigama kalpataro galitam phalam sukhamukha amrita dravya samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvibhavuka. O expert and thoughtful men, meaning all of you, men and women, O expert and thoughtful men and women, devotees, relish Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, relish instead of enjoy. Relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable, again, relish, for all, including liberated souls. Just briefly from the purport, the subject matter is so presented through the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami that any sincere listener that hears submissively can at once relish transcendental tastes, which are distinct from the perverted tastes of the material world. One should conclude, therefore, that the serious student of the rasa should receive the message of Bhagavatam in the chain of disciplic succession from Srila Sukadeva Goswami, who describes the Bhagavatam from its very beginning and not whimsically to satisfy the mundaner who has very little knowledge in transcendental science. Srimad Bhagavatam is so carefully presented that a sincere and serious person can at once enjoy the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge simply by drinking the nectarian juice through the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami or his bona fide representative. And at the very end of my notes, Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna personally comes to canvas because we are all Krishna's children. He's very sorry that we are in this miserable condition of life. He's very sorry. But we are so fooled. We do not know that what is the condition of our life. We're thinking we are very much happy. This is called Maya. He's suffering. He's kicked by the shoes of Maya every moment, and still he's thinking, I am very happy. Why shall I go back home? I shall remain in America, end of quote. But you cannot be allowed to remain in America. You're thinking, quote, all right, you are born of a very rich family, a rich nation. You've got opulence. You have your roads and your houses are very nice. But who is going to allow you to live here? Why don't you think like that? You may live for 50 years, 60 years, or at most 100 years. Then you'll be kicked out. But they do not know they do not know that life is eternal. When I am kicked out, then what life I am going to accept? They are in oblivion. There's no education in the university. This is going on. And he concludes by saying, this Krishna consciousness movement is a boon to the human society. You should take it very seriously and utilize your human form of life to understand it and be happy. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I'll end with that, and hopefully there's some discussion or questions or realizations that we can share. Again, from the verse in Bhagavad Gita, here is the format for discussion. Machita Magata Prana. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So that means that all of you on the other side of my screen, I want to be enlivened by you. Hopefully I've said something in the course of this discussion that might have enlivened you, but we're supposed to reciprocate. So please don't be quiet. Even if it's a simple thought. Prabhupada said the other day in a lecture, he said, if you know 2 lines and you just repeat those 2 lines, that is preaching. You don't have to know all the scripture and all the verses and all the pastimes, just 2 or 3 lines. So I'm sure within this beautiful group of devotees, there must be some thoughts that you can contribute to inspire the rest of us. So I'll leave it with you, Parikshit Prabhu. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Hare Krishna, this very, very, very wonderful lecture. Very, very inspiring lecture. And a lot of references are great reminders about what Krishna consciousness is about and what the pure devotees of the Lord do. I was very, very, very inspired. I had a big smile on my face the whole time you were talking.
You're relishing.
Yeah. Very, 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 very important that we understand how fortunate we are to be in this path. When my Guru Maharaj, Bhattacharya Maharaj calls it the royal path of devotion.
Oh,
he
wow.
he named it that way because there's nothing better than that. There's nothing even comes to that level. And devotees, it takes a while maybe before you begin to understand how fortunate we really are. So this text that you gave, Machita Makta Pranabodayanta Parasparam Katayanta Stamamityam Tushanticha Aromanticha. So very important text. The thoughts of the devotees dwell in Krishna. So many, 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 many points. They discuss about Krishna. They become happy from the discussions about Krishna. And we're trying to look for something outside to make us happy, but we'll not find. Chandamali Swami says, you go try to find something in material energy. You will never find happiness there. You never find happiness. It starts, seems like it's happy, then it gives you all kinds of problems, and you realize you've been tricked. So material, it's illusion. So the word is, we're very fortunate to hear a lecture of this caliber from His Grace Balabhadra Prabhu. Whatever you take from this, it's going to improve your life. One way or the other, it's going to improve your life. So if you want to have some discussion about it, even anything that excited you, you want to speak, please unmute yourself and share. And we'll all start talking a little bit about what we, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Everybody on here comes here practically every day that we have this. So please unmute yourself and begin to say something. You can't make a mistake. Don't worry about mistakes or anything that, I'm too embarrassed. What if I say something that, no, none of that's important. None of that's important. Hare Krishna. So who will start? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, all good to Prabhupada.
Haribo.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start. Prabhu, the sentence that you mentioned way in the beginning of the class, somewhere in the beginning,
Yeah.
preserving Srila Prabhupada's straight teachings and instructions.
Yes.
And that was like daggone, like really, because every time I hear lectures, statements, comments, instructions of preserving Srila Prabhupada's instructions and teachings, and whatever he has given us, all that is given us, I always think of His Holiness Bhattacharya Swami all the time, because he was very, very firm and strict on that. And because when he was mentioning it, he could see, my Prabhu, it is almost like, they were like psychics. They could see, that if we go this, it is gonna happen. So when Maharaj was speaking about it so much, it was so clear to my mind that he was warning us that if we do not do this, it's going to go sour. And we see, Prabhu, that it is, and Maharaj even mentioned that, whenever he travels, when he's traveled to different temples, as this mix of trying to introduce new stuff that Prabhupada never said to do. And it confuses devotees. It confuses congregation. Not only does it confuse, Prabhu, it comes to the point where they think that because it is spoken by a senior, they naturally would think, well, then they should know because they are seniors. That's why they're called seniors. But then that's not the fact. So how can we really, Prabhu, as second generation, practicing for so many years, be very, very careful to not deter from Prabhupada's teachings, because we're teaching younger folks who are taking us as seniors, but are we really following that? Because I see it happening many, many places, and it's really scary for me.
Yeah. Well, to address that very carefully thought out comment you just gave, and to try to answer to the best of my ability, is that each one of us is charged with the responsibility to understand what Prabhupada said. Then when I say something or another senior devotee says something, there's a dynamic there. You don't want to be disrespectful, even though the senior devotee may have said something, maybe not 100% correct, especially in a public forum, like a class. Then to challenge, say, a senior devotee, well, Maharaj, Prabhu, I don't think that's right, or I don't agree, especially that phrase, I don't agree with that. Don't say that. I rarely ever use that phrase. I don't agree with you. I said, well, maybe let's think about it like this. You have to be respectful. But at the same time, if you're coming to buy a diamond from me, but I find out you have no idea what a diamond is, I'll reach in the closet, get broken glass, and man, check this out. This is the best one in the country. How much is $1 million? So you don't understand. I know that you don't understand, and I'm cheating you. That's the cheating propensity. It's incumbent upon the person going to spend that much money to know what a diamond is. Like, I have a habit, before I buy anything, I look at reviews, I research it. I go, like, takes me weeks or days at least to buy something that's expensive. Like, I'm trying to buy a car right now. It's been like 2 months trying to figure out. I don't have much money. I got to make sure it's the right thing. So in order for me to understand if you're telling me what Prabhupada wanted, I need to know what Prabhupada said myself. I keep telling devotees, Balabhadra, after 51 years, I don't know anything that you don't have access to, the same information. 51 years or 5 years, doesn't matter, 1 month. Read Prabhupada's books so you know yourself. So when someone says something, whether it's correct or perfect, be respectful, but you should know. And then you go back and look. Like, someone said something about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and the person said, Radharani is in everyone's heart. And I was taken aback, but I didn't make any public show of my concern, but I've been meditating on that. It doesn't really fit from what I've heard from Srila Prabhupada. I think they were, what's the word? Conflating, I forget, sometimes I forget that word. They're confusing the issue. The super soul is in your heart, but the super soul is not Sham Sundar. So I've never heard that Radharani is with the super soul. Never heard that. So if you say Radharani is in the heart because you think Krishna's in the heart, then you misunderstanding it's not Sham Sundar in the heart. It's super soul, Paramatma, in a temporary manifestation for the management of this material world. So it just caught me off guard, and I thought about it and I researched, and it still doesn't make sense, that statement. But I'm not going to really embarrass that person and go on and on, because I don't have a deep relationship with that person that I can not challenge, but try to point it out, because I don't know if they can accept what I'm saying. So I back off. But in my heart, I need to know what the truth is. Do you follow? I need to know what the truth is. So the only way I can know the truth is read carefully Prabhupada's books.
I think that's the key point, Prabhu, is that when we quote or say something that Prabhupada never said, we just take it for face value, and that's where the Guru Shada,
Guru Sadhu Shastra.
Thank you. I had a tongue twister moment there.
Me too. Me too.
As the check and balance, going back and reading Prabhupada's books. And what I do is, Prabhu, and when I have questions, I come to you, I go to Vishnugata Prabhu, I go to Anuttama Prabhu, I go to Chandramali Swami, I go to Mother Rukmini. Like, I really go, and I have at least 6 or 7 references that I go to, just make sure that what is the context of this, because we read something and we take it for face value, but we really don't understand that that's a bigger picture behind it. And I think it's so important, because then we misunderstand, we misjudge, we misuse it, and we say it's Prabhupada, but Prabhupada never said it. But yeah, I think it's so important that devotees, which I was, who was, Nrsimha Kavacha Prabhu was mentioning the DD workshop, that, nowadays devotees don't want to read Prabhupada's books. They don't have the time. He said that, so when he teaches the DD workshop, he purposely, he says, gives us assignments to read Prabhupada's instructions, because I know devotees don't read Prabhupada's books, so he gives us quotes from Nectar of Instruction, CC, Nectar of Devotion. He said, because we don't read, and it's okay to read other books, but we got to read Prabhupada's books.
Yes.
Because Prabhupada said that it's the law book for the next 10,000 years. So I'm thinking, if it's a law book, then why are we not reading the law book, but we're reading the commentaries more than the law book, So that really stuck with me, Prabhu, how to preserve Prabhupada's teachings and instructions and ways, of everything.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you. Every time I hear that, all I could think of is Bhattacharya Swami. Every time. Because he was so strong on that, Prabhu.
Oh, yeah.
He was so strong. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Beautiful comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. That's wonderful. Thank you. So, dear devotees, other comments? Please unmute yourself and please speak. Damodar Prabhu, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please
Hare
accept my
Krishna.
humble obeisances.
All
All
glories
glory
to
to all the
Prabhupada.
devotees and Srila Prabhupada.
Haribo.
I had one question to ask.
Yes.
Couple of days back, I heard this line from a devotee. This is a very nice thing, that people with various personalities accept Prabhupada's teachings according to their personality. Meaning, like, Prabhupada has responded to the same situation in a different, like, maybe circumstances, background, in a different way. Sometimes he was harsh, sometimes he was soft.
Yeah.
And when devotees look at this, the personality, like, when the devotee has a personality, like, who is a little soft, someone who is little, like, hard, has more hardcore principles. So they react, or they say, no, this is the way, or, that's the way. So then the question comes, how we really understand that in a particular situation, okay, like, this is the correct route to go, or I don't know, like maybe what is the good way to go around with such kind of situations?
No, that's a powerful observation on your part. And Anasuya Mataji just said it in her comment, referring to Guru Shastra Sadhu. So this confusion or argument or controversy regarding Prabhupada's instructions. There's different aspects of Prabhupada's instructions. There are his letters, numbering in the thousands, written to individual temples, individual devotees, Matajis, on and on and on. And then there are his books. The law books, as I believe Preacher might have said, these are the law books.
When
you go to court, when you go to court, they deal with the law books. And then you go to a lawyer's office, like behind me, you see all Prabhupada's books. That's actually a background, but anyway, law books. So let's look at the law books. What did Prabhupada say? Guru Shastra Sadhu. So we have the Shastra. We have what Prabhupada said in his thousands of letters. This is separate from the purports. These are the letters. And that's where most of this confusion comes from. Prabhupada's letters, Prabhupada's morning walks, Prabhupada's responses to devotees in lectures, question and answers, and then Prabhupada's books. And then you have the sadhus. Now, someone could venture to say that all the ISKCON senior devotees are the sadhus. Yes, to some degree, but more or less referring to Guru Shastra Sadhu, the saint like Sukadev Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami. These are the authorized, bona fide, recognized sadhus throughout history. As I said, senior Prabhupada disciples, ISKCON gurus, they are definitely sadhus. But then you find conflicting responses from the different gurus and GBCs. Everyone has their kind of perspective. So I basically stay on the straight line of Srila Prabhupada, the Acharyas, and if someone else says something, then I understand if they're correct. So Prabhupada, we should never conflate, I believe that's the word, like Prabhupada's books and Prabhupada's personal guidance to devotees. And devotees use those personal guidances in political manners to achieve certain goals. Well, Prabhupada said like this, and you should do like that. Be careful with that. So be careful hearing it and be careful doing it. You can refer to Prabhupada's letters for particular circumstances, but make sure you understand his purports, his books, to see how that instruction is in context to something. Like he told one Mataji, she was saying that, oh, I'm having so much difficulty. I used to do a lot of service in the temple. Now, because I have a child, I can't do much service. She was lamenting. And Prabhupada said, let your baby be your Gopal. Take that for a second. Let your baby be your deity. Take care of your child. Where does Prabhupada get that from? I would say fifth canto, Rishabdev. Guru nanasha, pita nanasha. Don't become guru. Don't become a parent. Don't, unless you can liberate your dependents. Prabhupada says, take care of your dependent. Don't lament that you can't go to the temple. Do what service you can. So someone could take that and twist that into something else. But Prabhupada gave it to that Mataji. In Atlanta, I have personal experience where Prabhupada instructed our temple president, who was running for mayor of Atlanta as temple president of the Atlanta temple. And Prabhupada told him, you will be president of the United States in 10 years. We were like, wow, it's amazing. Prabhupada was so happy with his preaching. A picture came in Bombay, the newspaper in Bombay, Balabhadra with a suit, tie, and a dhoti. And Prabhupada was so proud of that. But after the devotees became a little bit distracted through the political process, I was involved in that as a bhakta, myself and what's his name? Sesha Prabhu. We were two bhaktas campaigning for devotees. Prabhupada detected contamination. Now check the next instruction he gave. He told Balavanta, better you stop this campaign program. He told him you'll be president. Then he said, no, better you stop. Take care of the Krishna consciousness of the devotees in Atlanta. And I tell you, he did that perfectly. He stopped the whole campaign, even after being told by Prabhupada he could be president in 10 years. When Prabhupada gave a different instruction. So my point again, Prabhu, is that Prabhupada's letters, Prabhupada's personal instructions have to be weighed against Prabhupada's purports. As Jai Dvaita Maharaj said so eloquently, It's based on the preponderance of evidence. Preponderance of evidence. If the evidence weighs heavy this way, then you can take Prabhupada's specific instructions and use them in a certain way. But my humble warning is that be careful, because devotees sometimes take Prabhupada's statements out of context to achieve some personal goal, management goal, whatever goal they have. Prabhupada said like that because they're trying to get people to do something. But we have to always refer back to Shastra. Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. So I hope that helps a little bit, Prabhu, but yeah, it's a very important thing. If anyone else has any other insight on that, it's very important. Very important.
Prabhu, what's coming to my mind is Vishwagata Prabhu's famous acronym, WWSPD. What will Srila Prabhupada do? And I know that since I've been hearing that, when I face, challenges in my service, whatever, the first instinct is always, step back, let it be, ignore it, forget it. But I said, no, what will Srila Prabhupada do?
Yes.
Would he just let it go and keep quiet and not address it and say, pay a blind eye? And then I would remember my spiritual master's words that he would always, and till today, it's so clear in my mind. He says, he would say, if you see something that is not going the way we are supposed to do, because Prabhupada, gave us that instruction, and you don't fix it, then you're also at fault.
Yes.
He always told me that. So I said, okay, now is the WWSPD, and then it comes to GMD, Guru Maharaj.
Yes.
So that always stays with me, Prabhu. What would Srila Prabhupada do? Would he just ignore it? Or what would my spiritual master do? And he says, you don't do anything, then you're just as guilty as the ones that did the thing and you just watched it. So yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
So with regards to what your his example, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, there's two stories, real short. One is he and I were in Mayapur, I forget the year, but it was during the time of the Kirtananda crises in the movement. So there was so much negativity in Mayapur that year. I mean, unbelievable negativity. So Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and then one night, devotees were discussing how they're going to hurt this other devotee and this and that. And Maharaj came to me and said, Balabhadra, we got to get the hell out of here. I mean, those are his words. We've got to get the hell out. This is not good. So in the middle of the night from Mayapur, we got a taxi or whatever. We went to Calcutta and then we went to Delhi, and we were sleeping on the floor in the Delhi temple just to get away from the negativity. He didn't want to hear it. And then another instance during that time frame of the Kirtananda thing, Radhanath Swami, Brikadar from New Orleans, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, myself, I think it was one or two other devotees. We rented a boat. This is on Gorpanima. We rented a boat, went out to the Jalangi River, and just went up and down the river reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, having kirtan. We didn't want to hear. And I was so inspired by Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, Radhanath Swami, Brikadar, how attached they were to just hearing, not the negativity. They wanted to hear. So those examples stick with me. I keep them in my heart. So those devotees set the perfect example of how to deal with those kinds of things. We have to look for the example. Mahajano Yena Gatasa Panta, follow in the footsteps and see what is the proper way to do. So what would Prabhupada do? We can learn from his books, his lectures, his letters, and from the disciples who sincerely follow him. Then we can know what Prabhupada would do. Like if you say Malati said something the other day that someone quoted, about breaking up chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, that it should not be done. She heard it directly from Prabhupada, and she was explaining what she heard directly, but some devotee was challenging what Malati said she heard directly. It was a very interesting conversation. So fortunately, we still have Malati, even we have Jadurani, who's a wonderful disciple of Prabhupada, even though she has a separate kind of preaching program, but wonderful disciple. Gargamuni, so many disciples who were there, Satsru Maharaj, and the list goes on and on and on. We can study their lives. We can study the biographies that they've written and see how they applied instructions from Srila Prabhupada in their lives. to help guide us now. Because it's an amazing time in ISKCON, but it's a dangerous time in ISKCON. Because too much innovation can destroy the essence of what is ISKCON. What is this ISKCON? What is it supposed to do? What is the purpose of something when someone comes to our temple? What should we do for them? Well, what did Prabhupada do for them? When the devotees came, what did Prabhupada do? He served them, cooked for them, cleaned after them, stood in the line to go to the bathroom. Like last night, I was so blessed. There was this old lady at the temple in Philadelphia. I mean, really old, Mataji. Her legs were not good, and she was trying to get her shoes that were up on the top level there. And her husband, who was also old, he took his little cane and trying to pick up the shoes. I said, I took her shoes, put them down, and put them on her feet. Well, why should I do that? I'm sure someone thought, Balabhadra, that's really Maya. No, it's not Maya. That's a senior person struggling. What would Prabhupada do? Excuse me. So in my heart, I felt Prabhupada would be proud of me for doing that. Helping this person who's in distress. He for whom no one is put into distress. I had an opportunity to improve that lady's situation. And when she saw me later, she didn't speak English. She saw me later, she was like so happy, like that. I was like, wow, what would Prabhupada do? Such an interesting concept.
Thank you very much for explaining this way. And as you were talking, I remember in New York, when Srila Prabhupada was staying there, the person that was the owner of the building, he helped him out take trash. Srila Prabhupada literally taking trash, with
yes.
that person, remove the trash. And he's the founder in charge of the society.
He owned the 26 Second Avenue building, that guy.
Yeah.
The one you're talking about.
Taking the trash out.
That's amazing.
So we have to learn what humility really is. Prabhupada teaches us in so many ways.
And you just reminded me of Indrajuna Maharaj in one of the videos of the Polish Woodstock. And I saw the devotees dancing, having a good time. And I said, who's that picking up the trash? Actually standing there with a trash bag while people throwing trash. It was Indrajuna Maharaj. Just standing there with a trash bag and people throwing trash. And he was like so happily serving. Wow. I said, my God brothers are so special, so wonderful, so nice. And my God sisters and all of you. Example is better than precept.
Precept, as you always say.
Example is better than precept.
Okay. Any final questions or realizations, thoughts before we end?
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Haribol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Prabhupada.
Thank you so much for this enlightening lesson. And I appreciate you saying that nothing is, no comments or questions are going to be scrutinized, because sometimes, I still don't understand certain things. I've only been associated for a few years, and I read every day, but I still struggle with association. Okay. I find myself still falling back and associating with, nice quote unquote people. There are some people that, not a lot, because I've never been one to have friends. I never had a lot of people that just, I'm very quiet. I have a lot of just my family. So I've let go of a lot of my family from even before I knew about Krishna consciousness. So the comment you made about developing relationships with those serious about Srila Prabhupada, serious about the teachings, made an impact, because before I was always, and I still do this, I self-scrutinize. What could I have done differently? If anything goes wrong, what did I do wrong? How could I have fixed that? And, when I was first coming into Krishna consciousness, I was like, I don't know any of these people. Nobody really talks to me. How do I get to know them? I live far away from the temple, and then I had to think, okay, so you have to make more effort. And so I have. So now finally, I've done what you said. Find those who are serious about Krishna consciousness, because there are some that maybe have been there 20 years, but barely will try to have a conversation if I approach them.
Right.
Just because that's not their karma, my karma, or the way it has to be. It doesn't have to be any particular way. And my purpose is not to have friends, of course, have association with devotees, but those who are serious about Krishna consciousness.
Wow.
And to, some of the things that you preach, period, is always to develop our Krishna consciousness. And by helping others, by doing, but what could we be doing? And it just made so much sense. I'm like, okay, so I've been saying I'm going to go out on Friday Kirtan. Have I done it? No. And I used the excuse, 3 years ago, I got custody of a baby. So bring her with me.
My favorite baby. I love that baby. She's so sweet.
So, I'm like, okay, as others were commenting, I'm listening. I was like, okay, I could do this. Oh, I could do that. This is after, the session. I was like, I don't even need to ask that question, but I'm going to go ahead and say it really hit me. And I really appreciate it. And I'm so grateful to you. Balabhadra, you're one of the first people that embraced me in Krishna consciousness. And I know that was a direct hit from Srila Prabhupada.
I still, one of my favorite pictures is you and I on the front porch of the temple. It's such a sweet picture. It's like,
I have that as my screensaver for your picture, for your number.
You're very dear to me and Gandhari. Very, very dear, believe me.
And you both are in my heart always.
Thank you, Flavia. Appreciate it.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I'm so sorry for joining late. I don't always check my messages.
That's personally.
Okay. So I'm so glad I got this session.
Haribo. Thank you so
Haribo.
much. Haribo.
Haribo, Mataji. You're in good hands if you're around. That is very, 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 very special for you, and you're fortunate by arrangement of Srila Prabhupada. We all benefit from Srila Prabhupada disciples. Very much so. Any final comments from the devotees? If not, then we'll thank you so much for coming on this morning, starting this week in Srila Prabhupada's, hearing about Srila Prabhupada and hearing about Krishna consciousness. This is the best thing for our lives here in this material world. So the rest of the week, have a Krishna conscious week. One check out Pataru Vishya Kripa
Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. Haribo. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Prabhupada's followers. Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
Haribo. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.